8. Garston Infant School. I get lost. We moved from Oldham to Garston, Watford when I was 5 years old. This was in 1954, and my mum took me to my first day at school, which was Garston Infant School. I was in the second year of the infants. My mum had arranged for me to walk home with a girl called Vivian, who apparently lived in Coates Way, and that was where we lived. It was about 2 miles from home. Not that I knew my address, because I didn't. All I knew was that we had moved to a place called Garston, so I assumed we lived at Garston Road. When it came to walking home, I had to follow Vivian, but she took me by a way that I never knew before, a completely different way, and across a park to what was the other side of Coates Way. She left me there, and I had no idea where I was, as I didn't recognise anywhere at all. Feeling uneasy about this, I realised I was lost. So I made my way back towards the school across Garston Park and began to ask people where was Garston Road. There was no such place, but I insisted I lived in Garston Road. A man with a red dormobile offered to take me back to school to find out where I lived, so off we went. The school teacher said I lived at Coates Way, where Vivian had taken me to, but I said I didn't live there, as I couldn't recognise the place. I insisted in my northern accent I lived at Garston Road, but the German teacher contradicted me and said I lived at Coates Way. The man took me back to Coates Way, but I could not recognise where I lived. He drove from one end to the other. It was quite a long way, with a council estate on one side and private houses on the other end. This was where I lived, 149 Coates Way. I saw my mum in the front garden, so I arrived home after being lost on my first day at school. So the moral of the story is to learn and remember your home address, even at a young age, and I'm sure this applies to older people too.